The following video is made possible by EA Game Changers, and thank you EA for providing travel to this event. Hi everyone, and welcome to a very exciting speed build because myself along with a bunch of other simmers were flown out to London by EA to attend Sims Camp, where we were able to get an early look at The Sims 4 Get Famous and capture some footage from it. And the thing I most wanted to do while there was finish a whole build, because we were also able to try the new terrain tools that are going to be coming in a patch very soon. And there's also just all the new items from the expansion pack that I want to try out, so I was just really looking forward to hopefully being able to create a whole build using all of that, although I wasn't sure if that was going to work out because I'm normally a very, very slow builder. Like, it could take me up to, more than 6 hours to finish a build, depending on how I'm feeling that day. So I was a little worried that I wouldn't be able to finish a build in the time we got because we did have very limited time to capture content, and I also wanted to get some other stuff than just a build. But thankfully I was able to finish this whole build in less than 2 hours, which really surprised me. And on top of that, I was able to record a whole world overview. So the video for that is going to be going up a couple hours after this one goes up. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get much gameplay. I did get a little bit, so that's just going to be included in with my world overview. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get into the acting career at all because I just didn't really have enough time to get to that because we only had 4 hours to record footage, and this build was my first priority. And I noticed that a lot of people were getting footage of the gameplay anyway, and like of the acting career and all that. So I didn't think it was necessary to get that myself. Like, I thought it'd be better to focus on some other aspects that I thought less people were getting. So that way, if you watch everyone's videos, you can hopefully get a good picture of all the aspects of this pack if that's what you are looking for. And while I didn't get to try out the gameplay much myself, I did take down a lot of notes from the talk that the developers gave, and I also learned a bunch of stuff by talking to others who attended Sims Camp. So if there are any questions that you have about this pack, you can feel free to ask them in the comments down below, and I'll do my best to answer them. Like, I should be able to answer most questions, and if it's something that I don't know, that I can find out the answer, or you can just check out the videos that others who attended Sims Camp uploaded, because as I said before, people got content on, or like captured content on different aspects of the pack, so everyone learned something a little bit different about this pack. But as you can see, I did use the terrain tools when building this house, so one side of it is a little bit further out of the ground than the other. And something else that I really like is that you can make it so, like, if you're trying to make a fake garage like I did here on the left side of the house, you can make it so the garage part of it is right on the terrain, and then you still have steps going down from the front porch, because I wasn't really sure how that was gonna work. Like, I wasn't sure that if you had a foundation, like if you could raise it up at all, that it always had to be raised up a certain amount above the ground. But no, like, you can just pull the ground like right up to the bottom of the building, if that makes any sense. So you can still have like part of it that's just like just a little bit outside the ground, and then some of that is still level with the ground. So you can just do some really interesting things build-wise with that. And in a short bit, I did make a kind of retaining a wall around the front of the house where I tried some more of that out. So that was something that I really liked about this house, and it came out a lot better than I thought it would with this amount of time. And honestly, part of that was because this is actually the second time that I made this house, because there was this whole issue where my first recording session, I corrupted all my footage. So I made this entire house basically, and when because they had these tech guys who were helping out with like putting hard drives, like attaching your hard drives to the computer and transferring the footage and all of that. And after I finished with my first capture session, because we got a couple of 2-hour capture sessions each, they were trying to like take my hard drive out and all of that, and I was trying to look at the footage just to make sure everything turned out fine. And I noticed that the footage that I got had no thumbnail generated for it, because usually if you record a footage file and everything's fine, like the thumbnail for it will be a little preview of what's in it, but it was just some generic thumbnail that showed nothing. So that was kind of a red flag that something was wrong with it. And I asked them out, they're like, no, it's fine. Like, you just need to open VLCs just because if we don't have something open on this computer, which was true, but also like it was pretty obvious that something was wrong with it. And I managed to track down someone who had a laptop, tried the footage on their laptop, and of course the whole thing was corrupt because I recorded the whole build. Like, I finished this whole build in 2 hours the first time, which really shocked me. And I just had it all as one video recording because I thought that was going to be fine. Like, I didn't think there would be any issues with it, but nope, the whole entire thing corrupted. And I was just like really like, I was freaking out over it because this is my first Sims Camp. I just did not want to mess up and like not have any footage to bring home. And of course I built this whole thing and lost all the footage. And I think part of why it corrupted was because they said, because we used NVIDIA Shadowplay to record, and they said it so that it recorded directly to my portable hard drive, which I wasn't so sure about, because I know the connection between a portable drive, like through USB, is slower than the connection just internally, like to the computer's internal hard drive. So I wasn't sure if that was going to work for like recording footage directly onto it, but they like said it was fine, and it wasn't. Like, I think that might have been part of why it corrupted. So that was just really frustrating. But thankfully, I talked to Sim Guru Kate about it, told her what happened, and she did her best to get me extra time to make up for that. So I actually got an extra hour or so to record footage. So I ended up rebuilding this whole thing. So this is my second try at building the house. And that was when I got the whole world overview. And it was kind of a blessing in disguise, because I think the second attempt at making the house turned out so much better than the first one did. Because the basic structure of the house, essentially looks the same to how it did in my first attempt. But in my first attempt at this build, I didn't do the whole retaining wall thing that I did, so I didn't get to mess around with the terrain tools and that way, like, kind of, show how it works in that way. And I also just, like, for the plants like that I'm putting in now, instead of doing this, like, square bordered area kind of thing that's a little bit more structured, I just slapped some dirt around the house and stuck the plants directly on it. So it didn't quite go with the modern look of the house as much, and the pool area was also a little bit more of a mess than the original build that I made, and I was honestly kind of embarrassed by that one in a way. Like, this build still isn't as detailed as mine normally are, but for the amount of time I spent on it, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. But yeah, like my first one, I just was like kind of afraid to show you all, because I just felt like it wasn't good enough to show. So, sometimes things have a way of working out, like something that initially seems like it's a really bad thing can turn out to actually be a really good thing in a way. Because as you can see here in the pool area, it's kind of like this infinity pool where as you go out to the outer edges of the lot, it's of course like kind of sloping down. And I was really hoping that this world would come with lots that originally have uneven terrain on them, but unfortunately all the lots in this world are once again flat. I don't know if they're ever going to make lots that already come with uneven terrain. Like, I really hope they do in the future, because I think that's when having the terrain tools really works the best, because when you have a lot like this, all you can really do is just make a slight hill, because if I made this massive hill in this lot, it would just look really weird, really out of place, because everything else around is flat. So just kind of like subtly sloping it was about all I could do to show off the terrain tools. And I also noticed that there were some new terrain paints that were in this mode. So I originally had this muddy terrain paint in the garden area, and then I realized that was a little too dark, so I just changed it to one of the dirts that we had before. But that rock terrain that I used for the driveway and the pathway to the front door is actually new, and there were a couple of other new terrain paints, like new rock terrain paints as well. So I think those three rock terrain paints and the dirt terrain paint were the only new ones that I noticed. I didn't really look through all the categories, so there could have been more, but it is kind of cool that they added in those new terrain paints. And as far as some other new stuff that I used on the outside of the house, there is that decal that I placed on the bottom of the pool that is new, so that's something that can also function as a rug for the inside of your house. And then that brick type the brick type wallpaper that I use on the outside is another thing that's new to this pack. So that was another really nice wallpaper, and I actually didn't notice it at first. But the kind of cool thing about building at Sims Camp, or like the really cool thing about building at Sims Camp, is that I was actually sitting next to other builders as I was working on my builds, or well, not builds, but both attempts at this build. So it was kind of cool to just kind of like look over at what the other was working and just point out like, hey, have you seen like this new item? Because the reason I found out about this wallpaper was that I was sitting next to Simlessy, the first capture session, and I saw that she had used this wallpaper in her build, and I was like, oh, that looks really good. Where is it? Like, what pack is that from? And she's like, oh, it's from this pack. Like, you can find it here in this area. Like, this is the one that I used. So that was neat, because I might have missed that if it weren't for her showing me that. And yeah, it was just really fun to be able to sit alongside others who are building while working on this and just kind of share tips and show each other what we were doing. So I'm just really glad that I got to do that. And then I was also, like, when it wasn't my capture session, I was also going in and seeing what some other people who are building were doing. So I'm really glad that I had to have that experience. And like the whole Sims Camp experience was really amazing. But I don't really want to go too much into that in this video. Like the next time I upload a regular old speed build, I'll go a little bit more into the whole experience, but I just wanted to stay a little bit more on topic with this one. But anyway, we have started on the interior, so now I'm working on the kitchen area. Unfortunately, there aren't any new counters or cabinets with this pack. I was really hoping there were going to be, because I don't think we've gotten new counters or cabinets in a while. Like, I can't remember the last pack that came with them, because I don't think Seasons did. Cats and dogs didn't either, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, cats and dogs didn't. So I was just really hoping that this expansion pack was going to come with one. Like, I think it would have been cool if they had just this really modern, like fancy over the top, like maybe kind of lit up countertop, just something really bougie, just really fancy, but no, there wasn't anything. So I was just stuck using older items for this. But yeah, now that I think about it, I think Jungle Adventure was the last pack we had that came with some new counters and stuff. So hopefully whatever the next one is will come with them, because I'm just really getting sick of, like, I'm starting to get bored of the counter selection that we have. So that's something that I really want. There are these new curtains. I did place them down here first, but then I just realized that with the beautiful views that we have around that, it just wasn't really good to just block them off with these big old curtains, because this build is built in the pinnacle section of the world, so that's kind of like the area that's up in the hills where all of the 5-star celebrities live, because there are 5 stars of celebrities. So in this game, there is actually like a separate fame and reputation system. So the fame is just like 1 to 5 stars. Like, there's no negative fame in there, but you can have a negative reputation or a positive reputation. So the fame is like how well your sim is known, and then the reputation is whether they're loved or reviled. So you can just have the sim who's like super famous, but everyone hates their guts. Like, they know who they are, but they absolutely hate them, or they could be really well loved. So I think that's something that's going to be really cool to play around with. And also, like, as far as the build items themselves, like, as you can see, a lot of them are very fancy and a little over top, and I briefly went through the swatches, but they do have some more crazy colorings of those with, like, tiger stripes. Like, there's a lot of items with, like, tiger stripes. Like, that was, like, a big thing in the items on this pack. And a lot of it is just very fancy and very over the top, which I guess goes with the whole celebrity thing. There is also, so basically there's kind of 2 different styles of the items in this pack. So you have the very fancy, bougie, over the top stuff, and then you have the more kind of like cheaper stuff that I think came in sort of a more mid-century modern style. I didn't really get a chance to look through that stuff too much because I just didn't use it at all for this build. Like, I think that one thing I put in the landing area downstairs, like right before you go up the stairs, is something that's kind of in that more mid-century modern style. Yeah, so there's 2 very different styles, like, but I'm not sure that, like, this fancy style is something that's very easy to use in a lot of builds. Like, it's definitely a very specific thing that you only use if you're just going for this over-the-top, like, just absolutely ridiculous look. So I'm not sure how useful these items are going to be overall, like, past building things for really rich sims or celebrity sims, because I tend to like the items that are for just everyday family homes more. And I think that's a style that the other items in this pack kind of fit into a little bit better. Although I think those, from what I saw, were more so like starting out cheap type items. So there's really a huge jump between the different styles of items. And when I was furnishing this house, I definitely wasn't as detailed as I normally was, because again, like, I had a time limit, I wanted to get other things. So I was just focusing on putting down the basics in this house and trying to make it a little decent. Like, there are definitely things that I would have done differently if I had more time, because there's some things that I'm like seeing looking back on this build, I'm just like, oh, why did I do that? It looks awful, or just like stuck things crooked or like uneven and that kind of a thing that's bugging me a little bit. But I think that's fine. Like, I'm fairly happy with this given what, you know, the time I had to work with. But an item that I did think was really cool from this pack is that wardrobe type item that I put in the bedroom. Like, it's just kind of this thing that you can use to make a dream walk-in closet, because that's something I have been wanting this game, because sometimes I just want to make a big old walk-in closet, and it's nice to have that versus just those shelves with stuff hanging on them. But we're on to the bathroom now, and as you can see, I made this border with this rug item that they had, so that's something that's just really cool for creating these elaborate borders. So you could use those in older homes. Like, I could see it pairing really well with wood floors, like if you're trying to make a fancy dining room in an older home. And then there we have the gold toilet. So I feel like this is definitely like Donald Trump's dream bathroom. Like, it's just so gaudy and over the top and stupid, but I love it. And I did stick that curtain in front of the window, which in hindsight I probably shouldn't have done, but when I was building it, I was thinking, oh, like, you want privacy in the bathroom, but then again, like, you're living up the hills. Like, I don't think anyone will be looking through the windows. Like, I mean, they literally won't in this game, but, you know, realistically, don't think there's going to be too much of a problem with that. But, oh well, I mean, what's done is done. Like, I can't go back and change that at this point. Oh, and I almost forgot that something I wanted to mention about the terrain tools is that the flattening tool is a little bit different than it was back in The Sims 3, because in the previous games, when you flatten the terrain, you would basically like put the mouse down on one tile and then drag across, and it would flatten all to that level. But this one's a little different, because rather than using the grid system like that, you basically just put the, like you basically put your mouse on the spot that you want it to be level with, and then you just drag it across, which sounds like it's not that different, but when you're actually using it, it just feels a little different, and it took me a little while to get the hang of that. And if you're paying attention, like when I was doing the terrain tools, you might have kind of noticed how that flattening tool worked. And also, the terrain tools in general in this game just feel a little bit easier to use in The Sims 3, because I remember in The Sims 3, it was very easy to, like, you would just click in and go shooting up, like, way more than you wanted to. But in this game, it just felt like a little bit easier to control, like a little bit more refined, if, you know, in a way. Like, it was just easier to control and get it to level exactly how you want it to. But we are into the screenshots now. Normally, I would do a video fly through, but again, due to the limited time that we had, I just wanted to make it quicker and do some screenshots. So here you have the back pool area. Another shot of that. I just really love this area of the house. And then we've got the side that was a little bit further out of the ground, and then another view from the front. And we got another view of the back. Like, I just kept taking pictures of the back of the house because I just really liked it. Here is as soon as you walk in, and then here is the living and dining area. And then just another shot of the dining room looking over towards the front door, and just more shots of the living room. And, oh yeah, so I did bring the tray files and all that home with me, so hopefully once a pack releases, I can actually put this build up on the gallery just in case anyone wants to download for some reason. Like, I'm not sure if anyone does, because it's not really, like, the best house I've ever made, but I mean, just in case anyone wants it, it will be there. But something that is important to mention is that this pack will be out on November 16th, so we're a little over a month away from that, but we're just continuing the screenshots up to the second level. And you probably noticed this during the build, but the whole second level is basically just one luxurious bedroom suite, because I just really wanted to make something that would be easy to finish within the time we get during Sims Camp. So I thought making this smaller house that's one bedroom but really nice would be a good way to do that. And then now we're in the bathroom, which has this ridiculous swan bathtub, which I thought was cool, but at the same time, it's just too much. Like, it's a little over the top, like the water comes out of the beak. And now we're just finishing up with some nighttime screenshots. So with that, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and bye!